Okay, so let's unpack this. Today we're diving into something, well, truly unique. It's a deep dive not just into a compelling story, but into the actual creators of that story
Mm.
as they try to figure out their own chaotic past.
Yeah, imagine a show just suddenly turning inward, right? Becoming like an archaeologist of its own crazy history.
It's fascinating, really,
Hmm.
because the Mike's Waffen fact in our MWF universe, I mean, it's known for just sheer absurdity, total escalation. And
Yeah.
then it makes this abrupt, almost disorienting pivot in season 7. Our sources for this deep dive, it's a mix, season 7 recaps, analyses, but also earlier episode details, stuff from the Doza crew themselves. And they also the creators are, well, grappling with the very fabric of their reality. It's almost like their own narrative is threatening to swallow them whole.
hmm
So our mission for you today really is to try and understand this incredible meta shift. We want to explore the state of mind of the MWF creators during this intense self-analysis and that unsettling feeling, right, that their story might actually be consuming them, and just how this bizarre journey highlights that ever blurring line between fiction and reality, even for the architects. It's a wild ride. Okay, so to really get why this shift is so profound, we need to quickly set the stage. For its first 6 seasons, MWF was just defined by chaos, often alcohol-fueled discussions blurring every line between fact and fiction. I was struck by how the sources described this early vibe using that German term Klamauk.
Klamauk, yeah, that really nails it. It's a specific kind of German thing,
Yeah.
Chaotic, often slapstick absurdity. Think like totally outrageous sense. Absurd Arschbombentechniken, which literally means butt bomb techniques for doing cannonballs into a pool. Or these bizarre debates about using Gulaschkanonen. Those are mobile field kitchens at the Battle of Waterloo. Seriously. It was all part of this unpredictable, almost, well, unhinged feeling. Right. Not just harmless fun, though. It escalated quickly. Yeah.
From those early absurd moments to what the sources call genuine danger.
Nice.
We hear about Mike escaping hospitals after, like, experimental plasma weapon tests, which sounds nuts on its own. But then, episode 197, things got really serious. He apparently forced Richard and Romanka to drink some dubious concoction.
Exactly. And that concoction led to Wahnvorstellungen, intense delusions, and Bewusstlosigkeit, basically unconsciousness. That specific incident, it really crossed a boundary to genuine dangers. It wasn't just absurd anymore, it was physically threatening. And
Yeah.
throughout these early seasons, you also had these key figures popping up, adding to the chaos. Schwatten, this mysterious supplier, like a catalysator for chaos, always bringing in weirder, more dangerous stuff. And then there's Mike's mythical father, Gaspold. His exaggerated military stories always seem to, let's say, inspire Mike's own really questionable behavior.
Okay, that brings us to a huge turning point. Episode 563, Romanka's dramatic mic drop exit. What was the final straw there?
Well, the provocation was very public and just utterly disrespectful. Mike was openly bragging about selling his own socks as bioweapons on the darknet, and he treated Romanka, who was their sound engineer, mind you, like a personal assistant. Just complete disregard.
Wow. And Romanka didn't hold back. His voice changed. He got loud, called Mike out directly, and just quit right there on the spot. The sources call it an act of liberation, a moral statement, a real break.
But what's really striking, and honestly kind of chilling, is Mike's immediate non-reaction. Romanka makes this huge scene, quits dramatically, and Mike just casually suggests Richard take over the package. Like Romanka had just, I don't know, paused to take a breath. The sources use this great German word, abgebrüht. It means totally hardened, callous, just completely unflappable. Showed zero concern. Later on, Mike apparently sent these cryptic voicemails to Romanka, called him Clune, begged him to return to the Flaisentisch.
The Flaisentisch, that's that classic German-tiled coffee table, right?
Yeah.
Often in like a very basic living room setting.
Yeah.
So begging you back to the Flaisentisch isn't just literal, it's symbolic too.
Exactly. It could hint at the show's humble, maybe kind of rough origins, or maybe a shared chaotic past they had. These messages, they raise questions. Were they encrypted, part of some hidden plan? We don't really know. But Romanka leaving, looking back, it might have really pushed Mike further off the rails, accelerated his drifting.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and kind of dark. Right after Romanka leaves, this new unsettling figure shows up. Kai Rem. His arrival was just abrupt. Episode 567, Casting Call, shows up out of nowhere. Quiet, unassuming. But Mike immediately got an Ungezgefühl, like a really bad gut feeling about him. And Richard, ever the skeptic, thought he was maybe a sleeper agent or even under alien influence.
Right, and Mike's justification for hiring him, chillingly casual. He basically said it could hardly be worse than Romanka's black metal, which apparently Mike hated. And Kai Rem himself even hinted the podcast's rough tones might be deliberate. A clever way to just slide right into the chaos.
But his behavior quickly went from quiet to disturbing.
Yeah, it confirmed those initial bad feelings. Episode 600, Richard gets arrested by these SSS agents. And Kai Rem, he shows this barely noticeable smile, mutters, "Bal ist es soweit," soon it will be time. Then he quickly packs his bags, avoids looking at Mike. Definitely not just some innocent bystander.
No way. And it gets even weirder, hinting he might be directly messing with things. Episode 604, he's caught secretly tinkering with a Grindman plasma cannon, replacing its original causal quantum core with some strange, black, almost organic-looking core. What even is that?
Exactly. And sources even report permanent radiation and local space-time distortions around him, eerily similar to stuff happening on Regulus 5. And when Mally, the cleaning guy, confronted him, Kai Rem got threatening, aggressive, tried to discredit Mally, warn him about unangenehm consequences, unpleasant ones.
In this tampering,
Yeah.
it strongly suggested this could be the possible direct trigger for Mike vanishing in episode 605.
And to really try and figure out Kai Rem, you have to look beyond just his actions, his solo music. It's like a window into his head. Tracks like Where We Was and Hyder bis Wolkig hint at like deep inner depths, maybe madness, loss of reality, but they also touch on digital surveillance, feature this hypnotic voice that's both warning you and drawing you in. It's weird. Then there's Wash All Warm. This marks his return to the Doza crew after a long break. And the vocals are raw, they give you goosebumps, talking about madness is king, deep pain. Which is such a contrast to that little smile when Richard got arrested. Really highlights his ambivalence.
Yeah.
And finally, The Edge. It reveals this fragile, totally unprompted discharge of hopelessness, so different from his usual controlled vibe.
So ultimately, Kai Rem is just this phantom, a puppeteer, maybe a digital shaman, or, like you said, maybe a nodal point connecting all the MWF chaos to these bigger cosmic mysteries surrounding Regulus 5. He's just a huge, unsettling question mark.
And if we connect him and everything else to the bigger picture, it's clear the chaos around MWF isn't just contained to them. It's tangled up with these powerful external forces. Hints at a much larger, honestly more disturbing reality than just some guys messing around on a podcast. Take the Solar Soldatenstaffel, the SSS, the shadow organization. It acts like a chameleon, right? Changes shapes, changes its agenda depending on where it shows up in the MWF universe. Like, on Regulus 5, they're massively hindering and harassing Grindman's research. Suggests they have concrete interest there, or maybe it's just targeted sabotage.
Right. And then in the main MWF world, Richard has all these seemingly paranoid theories, particle cannons, alien tech for a Mars invasion. But then it seems chillingly confirmed when the SSS actually arrest him in episode 600, right when he's about to reveal something huge. But the SSS's reach is even weirder. In the Foo Show, this bizarre 80s entertainment program, the SSS pops up as the Super Spy Staffel, the Super Fun Squad. Can you believe it?
It's incredible.
And the host reveals he's an SSS agent, locks down the studio, carries out mass arrests. It's such a disturbing take on entertainment being used as a cover for repression.
It absolutely blurs those lines. And then you have Grindman Frieden's work, this opaque corporation, advanced, dangerous tech. They're doing covert research on Regulus 5, which is described as a truly problematic place full of alarming findings. They're investigating a dying civilization there and this ominous, energetically active portal in orbit, officially. They hide their findings because of financial risks. But our sources see that as a clear cover-up for their real, probably darker motives. And what's really strange is their experimental weapons, maybe those plasma cannons, are linked to a specific sulfur smell. And that smell permeates key MWF incidents, including Mike's disappearance.
Whoa.
And get this, there's even a 15th century seal fragment that apparently links the names Grindman and Regulus to Mike's ancestors. Some guy named Mike Fried Liebman suggests the centuries-old, really ominous connections stretching across time.
Wild. And Regulus 5 itself, you called it a notenpunkt, a critical junction, a nodal point. It sounds horrific. Described as extremely bizarre, a trap, a place of contradictions. Imagine the people there, suffering, emaciated with empty stares. Their language is fragmented. They suffer from Sprachverwirrung. That's like speech confusion and Realitätsverlust, a total loss of reality. You're called inactivated ghosts, just caught in this eternal wandering, so bleak.
Yeah.
And that in Heimlich's energetisch actives portal, the uncanny active portal in orbit. It's called a permanent threat, even a poison to this dying world.
And tying all this cosmic chaos together is Gravepaste, the ultimate antagonist. He's a mad scientist, magician, tyrant, and aggressor on Regulus 5. And chillingly, he actually appears in Richard's hallucinations back in the MWF show, a direct manifestation of this huge cosmic madness spilling over.
Okay, so given all this escalating chaos, these bizarre characters, these external forces, what does it actually mean for the MWF creators? Because in Season 7, they do something totally unprecedented. They hit the brakes, perform a hard reset. They turn that analytical eye inward. They literally become researchers of their own escalated history, like archaeologists of their own crazy creation.
Yeah, but crucially, this isn't from a position of strength. Not at all. The sources describe them as being in a state of deep insecurity, total helplessness. They feel trapped in contradictions, just feeling completely ratless at a total loss. It's like the boundary between fiction and reality is blurring for them, as if the narrative they build is now threatening to swallow its own creators. Well, there's one quote that really hits hard, captures this feeling. I also feel somehow strange right now. You can just feel the unease.
So their purpose in doing this self-analysis, it feels like a desperate search for coherence, doesn't it? A feverish search for meaning, maybe even just a survival strategy, or like a frantic attempt to find an exit from this labyrinth they built themselves. It's almost like they're using their own show to try and figure out what the hell happened to them.
Exactly, but here's the kicker, and it's what defines this whole meta season. The sources deliberately leave it open. Is this self-reflection genuine? Like, purification or an attempt to escape? Or is it just another level of sophisticated staging, another layer of manipulation to keep you, the audience, completely hooked?
Right.
That ambiguity is just constant. They revisit the toxic dynamics, the transgressions, the loss of control from the early years. They re-examine Ramanka, Kyrem, Schwatten, the SSS, Grindman, Regulus 5, all of it. But they're doing it now from this place of deep uncertainty, analyzing their own creation, but driven by genuine confusion and, well, probably a bit of desperation.
Which raises an even bigger question, doesn't it? The meta-narrative just keeps going deeper. While the MWF guys are trapped analyzing themselves, our own analysis right here reveals that we, the German analysts looking at these sources, are kind of experiencing something similar. A Zeitschleife, the sources call it, a time loop.
Exactly. Our own past analyses suddenly become relevant. The sources point out that we initially kind of teased the English analytical team, for their rustic recording conditions, the engine noise. We positioned ourselves as the true connoisseurs, right? The ones who'd find the real meta-level stuff, the code names, the encrypted links. We thought we were outside it all, just observing.
Yeah, I remember that. But the unsettling thing now is realizing we're analyzing our own past analyses and recognizing that analysis of the past directly distorts the present. It's like a feedback loop we didn't see coming. It creates this shared feeling, this sense of being trapped in a time loop ourselves, where the narrative threatens to swallow us too, leaves us feeling, as the sources say, seltsam, just strange, uncertain. It's a real paradox.
It absolutely is. Does all this layered self-analysis from the MWF creators trying to grasp their story, to us trying to grasp their attempt, does it actually lead anywhere? Does it lead to liberation, to understanding, or does it just pull everyone deeper into this narrative web where the lines between creator, character, and analyst just completely dissolve? It makes you question where the analysis stops and the experience itself begins.
Wow. This deep dive has really shown how the MWF narrative, especially in that stunning Season 7 turn, becomes this mirror reflecting its own escalating chaos. It leaves the creators, and maybe even us, just grappling with the very nature of reality itself, that intentional ambiguity, that unsettling feeling of being caught in a loop.
Yeah.
It's completely central to this whole thing.
And speaking of unsettling loops, we found something really puzzling. It seems to build on everything we've just discussed, but honestly, we can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, it feels like a message to ourselves. But the meaning is just stubbornly out of reach. It reads, Nix ist real oder loop de loop, abrupt grind man de loop, kein entkomme loopu.
Nothing is real, only the loop de loop. Abort break grindman de loop, no escape loopu.
So if the very act of trying to find truth in such a chaotic narrative leads you into its loop, and you start getting indecipherable messages seemingly directed at yourself, what does that even imply? What does it say about the nature of truth in a world that's increasingly full of these self-referential stories, these blurred realities? How far down the rabbit hole are you willing to go when the lines between the analyzer and the analyzed just seem to disappear completely? Definitely something to mull over until next time.